I'm pretty sure that's right. If you get the wrong number, then at least it's toll-free. Okay, well. Might get some strange person answering. It might be me, a strange person. Okay. Okay, a very famous palindrome. This is music is "Oh Columbia, the Gem of the Ocean." That was a song that was very popular around the turn of the 20th century, about the time that the Panama Canal was built. One time, actually, it was considered as a possibility for the national anthem of the United States, and so since the United States was involved in the construction of the canal, I thought it was appropriate. Also, Panama at one time was a province of Colombia, so that sort of ties in with "Oh Columbia, the Gem of the Ocean." Okay, a very famous palindrome. What's a palindrome? A palindrome is a word or phrase that is the same backwards as well as forwards, so I really couldn't resist this. A man, a plan, a canal, Panama. A man, a plan, a canal, Panama. That's a very famous palindrome. It's the same backwards as well as forwards. So, I couldn't resist doing that in resistance. And that's me again, as always. Okay, Panama Canal, Part 1, as I mentioned, Part 2 will be on the next C-Day, about 4 days from now, the day just before we make the transit of the Panama Canal. Okay, unfortunately part of this has gotten chopped off. I tried to lower things on my slides, but apparently I didn't get them lowered quite enough. Okay, Panama Canal, of course, is an engineering story about construction and all of that, but it's very much a story about human beings, about human attitudes, about human greed, about determination, various other things. So, it's a story of determination. Here is President Teddy Roosevelt, President of the United States in the early 1900s, saying that a canal across Central America is of vital strategic interest to the United States. It's also a story of stubbornness. Here is the Frenchman, Ferdinand de Lesseps, who was responsible for the construction, digging of the Suez Canal, who says the Panama Canal must be a sea-level canal like the one that he built at Suez. And also a story of patriotism, a very patriotic Frenchman who said a canal for the glory of France, vive la France. And let me turn the music down in just a bit, in a moment. Story of greed, here's Philippe Lunard-Varilla. We'll be talking about him in both this lecture as well as the next one, who had a big investment in the canal and says, I'll lose all my investment unless Congress votes for Panama. There'll be a very interesting story about that. Story of determination. This is a Major George Washington Goethals, who was the chief engineer of the canal from 1907 to its completion in 1914, and afterwards was the governor of the Panama Canal zone. And he says, I have received my orders. He was a military man. He received his orders to build the canal, and these orders will be carried out. He had no choice, really. And a story of dedication. Here's Major Walter Reed, Major of Veterans Hospital in Washington, D.C. is the Walter Reed Medical Center. He proved that yellow fever is carried by mosquitoes. Very important, as we shall see. And also, from Britain, we have Sir Ronald Ross, a British bacteriologist who won the Nobel Prize in 1902 for malaria. He proved that malaria is carried by mosquitoes. This is also very important. Story of heroism. Here's Dr. William Gorgas, and said he was saying that these terrible diseases of malaria and yellow fever will be eradicated. And finally, a story of very hard, back-breaking work. Here's a picture of the many thousands, or some of the many thousands of workers at the Panama Canal. Most of the laborers of the Panama Canal came from the Caribbean region of the West Indies, as it was known then. Mostly black laborers, many from Jamaica. So, Panama Canal, Part 1. A Panama Canal is a lock-type canal, that is, has locks. It is not a sea-level canal. It is presently owned, administered by the Republic of Panama. As you pass through the canal, you'll see various locomotives and buildings and so on that has the initials ACP on it. ACP in Spanish represents Panama Panama Canal Authority. So that's the agency of the Panamanian government that's responsible for the administration of the Panama Canal. The overall cost of the Panama Canal was about $350 million. Doesn't sound like very much nowadays, but this is about 1900 or so. That was the largest and costliest work up to that time ever undertaken by the U.S. government. It was, and perhaps still is, one of the world's premier feats of engineering. Concrete lock chambers and mechanical lock gates were the largest ever built up to that time. And at that time, the lake that will be sailing through a major portion of the canal, Gatun Dam, which impounds Gatun Lake. Gatun Dam was the largest earthen dam ever built, forming the world's largest artificial lake, Gatun Lake. And for a large portion, almost half of our transit through the canal, will be actually going through a lake, the Gatun Lake. So, some major firsts. Each year, more than 14,000 ships carrying more than 200 million tons of cargo pass through the canal. In its lifetime of about 100 years, almost 100 years now, almost 1,800,000 ships have passed through the Panama Canal. So it's a very, very busy canal. It's not the busiest canal in the world, nor is the Suez Canal. Anybody know the busiest canal in the world in terms of ship traffic? It's the Kiel Canal in Germany that connects the North Sea to the Baltic Sea. That's actually the busiest canal in the world. Okay. Panama Canal has had an enormous impact on shipping between the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. It eliminates the long and treacherous route via the Drake Passage and Cape Horn at the southernmost tip of South America. Here is South America. At the southernmost tip, we have Tierra del Fuego, this region down here in Cape Horn. And this region between Cape Horn and Antarctica is a region of very treacherous waves and winds, and that was a very difficult and treacherous passage, a very dangerous passage for shipping, and it's called the Drake Passage. And so shipping going from the Atlantic Pacific Oceans had to go through that Drake Passage. And with the canal, that was eliminated. The Drake Passage was perhaps the most turbulent turbulent wind-driven waters on Earth, and that's the 600 miles between the southern tip of South America. Here we have Tierra del Fuego. This is Ushuaia, Argentina. This is Cape Horn. Between Cape Horn and the Antarctic Peninsula is about 600 miles, and this is the Drake Passage. And so that's a very difficult passage for ships. The Drake Passage was named after Sir Francis Drake, who was one of the first to navigate the waters of that passage. Here is the Arctic Circumpolar Current. It's actually the world's largest ocean current going around Antarctica. Going around Antarctica in the region of the South Pole, there are no land masses to impede the flow of water. Around Antarctica, you have the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, and the Pacific Ocean all coming together. And the water can circulate in that region without any impediment of a landmass. And so you have this huge ocean current going around, and that passes between the southern tip of South America, right over there, and the Antarctic Peninsula, right over there. Maybe I should get a pointer or something. Or maybe I should grow and become a lot taller. It'd be good if I was maybe 8 feet tall, perhaps. But this is a huge screen. Okay, tremendous winds. The wind average is 10 to 20 miles per hour down there in the Drake Passage. So it's one of the windiest places on Earth. And here's a close-up of that. And especially difficult for the days of sailing ships, for ships sailing from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean, because they're going against the wind. So not only is the trip hazardous, but also very difficult, especially for the east to west transit of the Drake Passage. Okay, the Panama Canal, of course, connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans through the narrow Isthmus of Panama, located right there. It's the narrowest stretch of land in all of the Americas, in all of the Western Hemisphere. Ships sailing between the east and west coast of the United States save a considerable amount of distance. It shortens the distance by about 8,000 miles. So instead of sailing around the southern tip of South America, which would be about 14,000 miles, the trip is shortened to 6,000 miles from the east to west coast ports of the United States. Ships sailing from New York to San Francisco, instead of sailing 14,000 miles, only has to sail 6,000 miles by making the transit through the Panama Canal. A very considerable savings in terms of time and fuel. And likewise, ships sailing from Europe to Pacific coast ports of the United States save a considerable distance, as much as almost 2,000 nautical miles. And likewise, ships sailing from eastern ports in the United States to the west coast of South America can save something like 3,500 miles by transiting the Panama Canal. So it's a very much of a savings in terms of time and fuel for ships. Now, as I mentioned in previous lectures, there's a great cordillera, or chain of mountains, going all the way through the Americas, from the northern Alaska, the Brooks Range, the Canadian Rockies, the Rocky Mountains in the United States, the Sierra Madre of Mexico. You'll see tomorrow some of the Sierra Madre Mountains from Huatulco, down through Central America, and then the Andes in South America, all the way down to the very southern tip of South America, Tierra del Fuego, Cape Horn. And so here it is, the Brooks Range, northern Alaska, Canadian Rockies, Rocky Mountains in the United States, and then the Sierra Madre of Mexico. That continues down through Central and South America, the Andes down to Tierra del Fuego, and the southernmost extremity of that range of mountains is Cape Horn, off the southern tip of South America. Here we have the Isthmus of Panama. The Isthmus of Panama, as I mentioned, is the narrowest land in all of the Americas, the Western Hemisphere. It's only about 50 miles wide, and that, of course, is what initially attracted attention to the Isthmus of Panama as a possible canal route. Here is Panama, the country to the north, and west of Panama is Costa Rica. The country on the other side, to the south and east of Panama, is the country, South American country of Colombia. We see that not only is the Isthmus of Panama the narrowest stretch of land in all of the Americas, but also it's one of the lowest elevations in all of that region. The chain of mountains going through the Americas generally get up to 10,000 feet in elevation, but it's much lower in the Isthmus of Panama. It's the region of lowest elevation. So these two factors that drew early attention to the Isthmus of Panama as a possible route for a canal. Here is the topography of the region. The elevations just a short distance away from the isthmus gets up to about 10,000 feet. Now, there would be a tremendous challenge to dig a canal through that. In the immediate neighborhood of the canal, it's about 1,000 feet. But right in the region of the isthmus, right over here, it's down to about 500 feet or slightly less. And of course, that made the digging of the canal feasible. It was still a very difficult undertaking, but at least it became a feasible undertaking, and as you will experience yourself in a few days, it was indeed accomplished. And now, the geography here can be a little bit confusing. When we're going from the Pacific Ocean, where we are right now, to the Atlantic Ocean, we will actually be sailing from east to west, basically.